Hi, this is Ryan from xcannabis.com. Here I'm addressing a few of the pot moguls, these people who are in the pot business and are successful, those who have challenged me on the idea that rescheduling is not a good idea. I don't agree that rescheduling is a good idea because I don't believe in restrictions and regulations. I believe that's how monopolies operate, that's how monopolies and oligopolies become successful. I don't want to see ma and pa shut out of the cannabis market. So there's a movie called The 1% by Jamie Johnson. Now Jamie Johnson is the heir of the Johnson & Johnson fortune, and he did a movie on the 1%, basically the 1% that owns 90% of the wealth in the United States. And he went and interviewed people, and I'm going to display some of these things here, and I'm going to show you how the sugar industry uses restrictions, regulations, and campaign contributions to candidates, to not only presidential but lesser government representatives, and those campaign contributions yield them thousands of a percent in return on their investments, so that they make money on this price gouging in the sugar industry, where the world market charges around 7 cents for a pound of sugar or something like that, and our market buys it at about 4 times that amount because we guarantee it, and we do it via these regulations of the government that the owners and these moguls in the sugar industry have campaigned for. So it's basically just an oligopoly. Basically, that's what the definition of it is. I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of different videos here, a couple clips from that movie, The 1%.
The amount of money flowing into the system for political contributions has been a major shaper of who gets what within the economy, because they always want something, whether it's a tax change or it's a change in regulation or it's a subsidy or what have you. And as a result, there are a number of studies that show the people giving the money have often had the greatest benefit in terms of what happened to their stock price or their own personal fortune.
Meet the kings of sugar. Pepe and his brother Alfonso farm pool of Palm Beach, Florida. Critics estimate these plantation owners make an extra $65 million a year off the sugar program in American consumers. The government puts the total cost to consumers at least $1.4 billion a year.
The Van Hools. There is no story of the Van Hools. If you're got me up this morning to talk about the Van Hools, and we're making an issue of the Van Hools as such, we could get it over with in a hurry.
In that fatal moment in the Oval Office, when Bill Clinton was confronting Monica and telling her it was over, he's interrupted with a call from, it turns out, Alfie Fahnholt. Alfie Fahnholt was very concerned that Al Gore had made a speech the day before saying that sugar companies were going to have to pay for the cleanup of the Everglades. So while Monica sat there in her tears, Bill Clinton spent 22 minutes on the phone reassuring Alfie Fahnholt that everything was okay, that they would be true blue, and even that Al Gore guy, he's just saying that to get elected. Keep giving us money so Al can be president.
Nobody knows exactly what it costs to produce a pound of sugar in the Everglades, but it's the second most profitable crop to tobacco in the United States, and it has made the Van Hool family extraordinarily rich. The incredible thing is that for every pound of sugar grown in the Everglades, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of tons, the American taxpayer guarantees a price of 22 cents a pound, way above the world price of 7 cents a pound.
The sugar program is a combination of import quotas and a guarantee that the government will buy any surplus. It limits dramatically, it limits to almost nothing the amount of foreign sugar that's permitted to enter the U.S. That means if you need sugar in the U.S., you have to buy it from the U.S. sugar producers. And that results in the price being artificially raised. There's a shortage, usually, and so the U.S. price of sugar is higher than the world price.
So you can go to Canada and the price of sugar is 1/3 of the United States, or Mexico is 1/3 of the price in the United States. And they guarantee the price. So if there's too much sugar in the United States, the federal government will buy the sugar at the high price. It makes zero economic sense.
Here the country's running a $500 billion a year deficit, and we're subsidizing sugar production in the Everglades, which is damaging the same system that we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to repair. If you really think about it, it's nonsensical, it's even comical. If it wasn't so hideous, it really would be laughable.
The Fanjul family makes hundreds of millions of dollars, become very wealthy because of a government program. And there's no reason why the federal government should create a program to make the Fanjuls richer. We're in effect subsidizing the Fanjuls and hurting the American public buying products that have sugar in it.
One was the Republican, one was the Democrat. Alfie Fanjul was the single largest contributor in Florida to the Clinton campaign, and his brother was the largest contributor to the Republican Bob Dole campaign. They had it covered either way.
In this next clip, I'm going to show you a video from a pot mogul, from somebody who is in the pot industry and who is asking the city of San Diego for restrictions and regulations on other dispensaries. My guess is so that his business thrives more. So I mean, this is no different than the sugar industry, but here's a more clear example of what we get with regulations and restrictions in the cannabis industry.
To function in the proper way. If there's a concern in San Diego about an unchecked proliferation of collectives and cooperatives, there's nothing like regulations to deal with that concern. We've seen in other cities and counties that have already gone down this path, that the regulatory process creates a higher standard of collective and cooperative. It ensures compliance with the law, provides an opportunity for community input, and at the same time, it also serves to lower the number of collectives and cooperatives by excluding those who simply can't meet the criteria established by the City Council.
So in summary, no, I do not think that pot moguls should be exempt from taxes. No, I don't think pot moguls should have a corner on the market. No, I don't think there should be regulations and restrictions, especially those that restrict some but benefit others. I disagree with that. There's a couple people on Facebook who I talk to who are in the business who disagree with me. Obviously, there's reasons why.
She only tried to get near me, and if I ever known about it, my inside.
The earth of these people, send them to the far reaches of the universe, and the mayor's office will build a big police station, build a bunch of townhouses, the yuppies will buy in and bourgeoify it, and suddenly we'll have a community. Yeah, there'll be a bunch of people displaced. Yeah, there'll be a bunch of crime problems, but it's easier. We found the easy solution.
Charles Darwin did not invent the term survival of the fittest. That was Herbert Spencer, a social Darwinist who thought that if we just allowed the rich to get richer, that was good for society because we want to discourage the poor from having a lot of children and basically surviving. That kind of social Darwinist notion has stayed alive in certain quarters, and I believe that it is there behind much of the economic policies we are now seeing.
Look, there's never in history been a time when the ordinary people of this world, and particularly in the rich nations like the United States, Britain, and Europe, never been a time when the ordinary people have had the level of income and living that they now do.
But what about the tens of thousands of people whose lives were affected by this?
You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. You have a system which is overwhelmingly yielding good results. But there's no question that it's not perfect, and there are cases and people will get hurt, but that's true of any system.
Doesn't it make you nervous when you see so many powerful and extremely wealthy individuals sitting there directly influencing those politicians when we're in a democracy?
They're not influencing anything. they're playing a role in the political system, but Congress is ultimately going to be influenced by public opinion, by what the public wants. The public will get what the public wants.
A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
In the 1980s, the U.S. government illegally sold weapons to Iran and used the money to support Nicaraguan rebels in what turned out to be the Iran-Contra scandal. At the center of the deal was one billionaire who had unfettered access to the secret workings of the U.S. government.
We got involved in this Iran-Contra story, which unfortunately backfired a little bit on everybody. They asked me to finance it. I said, okay. So I gave credit to the CIA for $1 million, and they shipped the equipment, and the Iranian paid me back. It was supposed to be a hush-hush operation. As business people, we have ways of manipulating the government officials, and they have ways of manipulating us. I take advantage of opportunities that come. In all relationship in the world, when you have contact, like if I have contact with you now, I will call you when I arrive in New York and say, hi man, I want to see you. I have to, it's nothing abnormal. You probably will take me out to dinner and introduce me to another person who I make business with.
You would say you're not an arms dealer and you never were?
No. But the truth is, if you investigate through the records and so on, you find out we never dealt in arms. It was just a title given to us by the press.
But when you helped connect the United States government and the Saudi government over sales of weapons, what would you call that?
Marketing. I worked with the British on the Lightning program. I worked with Raytheon on the missiles. I worked with Northrop on the F-5. But this is normal business. This is the whole life around the free system is like that.
It's been the case for the last 25 years in the United States that the amount of money flowing into the system for political contributions has been a major shaper of who gets what within the economy, because they always want something, whether it's a tax change or it's a change in regulation or it's a subsidy or what have you. And as a result, there are a number of studies that show the people giving the money have often had the greatest benefit in terms of what happened to their stock price of their own personal life.